I am Uncle Adams. Hey guys, Uncle Adams here with you once again, doing another video. Today I want to talk about something personal. I'm not sure how many people are aware of what I'm going to say in this video, but nonetheless I want to clear the air about something. What I'm going to talk about in this video is very personal, but I am absolutely okay with that because it's a part of my past, it's a part of my history, and I'm happy to share it. I want to start off by saying that it's important to know that I have not always been the inspirational figure that I am today. It's been a ride. It's been a journey. There have been ups and downs. It's definitely been rough sometimes. It's been a rocky road. And I didn't start out as a motivational rapper. In fact, I started out as a freestyle battle rapper. When I was 15 or 16 years old, I started getting into freestyle battle rapping. I would battle people at parties all the time. On the weekends, people would call me, yo, this guy said he could battle you, come here. And I would go. I would like travel. Even if I was in the North End, they would call me and I would go to the South End and battle them. Wherever it was just my thing. I battled at house parties. I also battled a lot on the Dudney Bar Strip here in Regina. There was a club there called Manhattan Club. We battled up there all the time. Soho's, many different locations, various clubs, various parties. And that's what I did because at that time, that's how you made a name for yourself. Now, obviously, battling is still a thing today, but there are other ways to get your name out besides battling. Back when I was doing it, when I was coming up, you got to keep in mind that this was before Facebook. The only thing that was really out was like MySpace. So you couldn't really just throw up a video and have it go viral and stuff like that. Like you had to go and battle if you wanted to get your name out there and if you wanted to earn a spot and be heard. So people would always be dissing me and I would always be dissing them as a defensive attack mode, and it was just so negative. But it was like the only way you could get back at them at that time. It was like, okay, they're going to be harsh to me. Well, I'm going to be harsher to them and I'm going to cut them deeper than they cut me. And it really is just a super negative way of living. Now, as a result of this, as a result of doing this for years, pretty much every weekend, I developed an ignorance, I guess you could say, or a numbness, as many battle rappers do, I think, to words. Because harsh words are being said to you so often, and you're saying harsh things to people so often that they almost lose their power in a sense. Because if you took everything so literally, it would destroy you. So you have to build up this tolerance and this ignorance to these words, which really is a weird thing, but it happened. And I developed some bad habits from that, where I had some negative slang words in my vocabulary that were almost programmed into me and embedded into me because of those years in my life where they were just there all the time and people were saying them to me, and it was almost like it was just a part of the culture. So I was used to these words. I was used to being called every name in the book. I was used to attacking other people with my words and tearing them down. But it's important to know that other people who weren't battle rappers were not immune to those words like that. So I was probably really offensive with my slang and my language and the way I talked outside of that because of the way that I had been programmed from being a battle rapper for so long. So it took a while to break out of those habits and reprogram myself. So that's really how I spent my early years in the rap game. I was a battle rapper, and that's what I did. I pretty much thought that it was do it that way or don't do it at all, because everybody in the city did that. And if you didn't battle, it was like you didn't matter, you know? So I did it, and I really applied myself to it. And I don't mean to be arrogant, but I was good at it. Anything I apply myself to, I attempt to be great at. And at that time, I was trying to be great at battle rapping. So I worked my way up. I would win things. I won a stack of money one time. I won a bag full of clothes. I would win different prizes. So I did this for years. And I got to a point eventually in my late teens, early 20s, around that time in my life, where I said to myself, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like this. This is so negative. People were tearing me down all the time, and I was tearing them down all the time. And it's like, no way to live your life. I get it. Like, that's how battling is set up. That's the structure of it. It's a competition, but it's not healthy to be in that kind of a state of mind all the time where you're always in defense mode, or you're either in defensive mode or in attacking mode. Like, I just didn't like it anymore. I was sick of it. So I decided that that was it for me. I needed to take a step back and revisit my life and decide what I was going to do. So I took a hiatus from rap. I basically quit. Although I still had the dream in the back of my mind that I loved rap music. I loved hip hop music. I liked rhyming. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't negative all the time, but it was a lot of the time. So in my heart, it was still something that I wanted to do, but I backed away from it for a couple of years. And I got a job as a heavy equipment operator. And I went the normal way, I guess you could say. I got a job, I worked 40 hours a week, overtime lots, I saved up money, and I bought a house. This is the house that I purchased. So I took a step back from rapping to sort of reevaluate, think about it. Was it for me? Because the way I was doing it, that wasn't for me. And I knew that. So during this break, I didn't quit because I still had the dream. And in my heart, it felt like I was supposed to do something with rap music. But the way I was doing it just wasn't right. I wasn't supposed to do it negative like that. It didn't feel good. So during this hiatus from rapping, I began a transformation. I began to change. I cut out the negative people in my life, the negative influences. I cut out bad habits. I began to reprogram my brain, because a human mind is like a farmer's field. You can plant poisonous plants in it and let it run wild with weeds, or you can maintain it properly, cultivate it, and grow a rich crop. And those early years, I was programmed with weeds and negativity and poisonous plants. So during my break, I stripped all that out and I began to plant a new crop and program my mind differently. Human beings are subconsciously programmed by the world around them, by their surroundings, and they don't even realize it. And I didn't even realize it. You have to program your mind, or else the world and other influences will program it for you. So that's what I began to realize, and that is what I applied to my life. Now, there's another key part in my story. I won't talk about it too much because I made a whole other video about it that you can check out on my channel. But basically, I'll touch on it quickly. I broke my foot at a party when I was drinking, and a few days later I was laying there, basically bedridden with a broken foot, and I thought to myself, what is up with my life? It was like this huge wake-up call for me. It was like, now is time to really change. I had started to change, the process was there, and this was just another level of change that reinforced it even more, what I was thinking. Even though I had a broken foot, I wasn't going to sit around and be useless and just sit there. I was going to begin to really make some transformations, and I started going to the gym with my friend. Broken foot and all. I did what I could. I began exercising regularly, eating properly, listening to motivational recordings. And I continued to fill my mind with positivity, inspiration, and motivation. As a result of the changes that I made in my life, I literally became a different person. A person who saw the world differently. I began to experience life living in a higher state of consciousness. So much so to the point that I would revisit things that I was ignorant to earlier on in my life. And a good example of that is movies. Certain movies that people would show me in my late teens or early 20s, and I would say, oh no, I wouldn't even give it a chance. I would just say, that's stupid, it's not for me. But since I was in this higher state of consciousness and awareness and appreciation, I would go back and watch some of those movies, and I absolutely loved them. I had this appreciation for things. It was almost like I was a new person and I was getting a new chance to live differently and to experience the world differently. So after I went through this incredible transformation in my life, I decided I was going to come storming back into the music industry with all of my might, determination, persistence, and dedication. But this time, I was going to do it my way. I wasn't going to be negative like I was before. I wasn't going to do it the way that I was taught that rap was supposed to be. I was going to flip the game on its head and come at it from a motivational, inspirational standpoint, because that's how I feel. That's how I was feeling at the time. That's how I feel now. So that's the way I'm going to rap. And once I did that, it was like the universe rewarded me and my records took off and started being played all over the world. So in a way, it's like I've had two careers in a way. It's like I did it once for years. It didn't work out. It didn't feel right. I stopped. I changed my life. And then I came back and did it in a different way that felt right and worked. It was like I had to evolve into the person capable of making my dreams come true. And I didn't realize that at the time. At the time, I was just discouraged. I'm talking about the time when I took my break or hiatus from rapping. At that time, I didn't realize what was coming, and that if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't be making the music I do today. So even though it was hard at that time, it was almost like I was losing the dream and giving up on myself. Even though it was really difficult at the time, it was necessary to create the next chapter in my life. And it's a huge part of the Uncle Adam story. Now, even though my earlier years in rap music were mostly negative, don't get me wrong, there were times at parties where we wouldn't always be battling and stuff like that. But most of the time it was negative and it was competitive. And even though it was like that, I still don't regret it, because I rapped a lot. And as a result of that, I gained a lot of skill. And I had hours and hours and hours and hours of practice. Even though it was geared towards the wrong area, I still got really good at it. And I don't mean to be arrogant when I say that, but when you listen to my songs, you know that I'm a polished rapper. I fine tune it. I have the syllables. I got that wordplay. And that comes from years and years and years and years of doing this. I rhyme things that other people are like, how did he even rhyme that? Because if you just say those words, they don't go together. But I've been doing this for so long that I can manipulate the words in a different way. So, although that time was negative, I am thankful that it helped me develop my skills to a very high level. And once I switched the direction of my music, all that skill and all that practice really had a huge importance. So you can look back on my past all you want. It's no secret, and I don't deny it. In fact, it's actually a really big part of the Uncle Adam story. I know what it's like to be negatively programmed, and I changed my entire life. People who knew me back then, when they see me now, they're almost like, who is that guy? He's a different person. They say I've evolved, or my friends say I'm a transformer. And the fact is, I'm not the same person. And now I'm taking what I learned and I'm applying it to teach others, especially kids, because I've been there. I've done that kind of stuff. And I want to be someone who helps to program them in a positive way. And I want to be someone who teaches them that their goals are possible, their dreams are possible. Now, with that said, that doesn't mean that every song that I make is going to be all about peaches and rainbows, because the world isn't like that. I always try to have a message and some inspiration in my music. But sometimes I touch on serious matters. I talk about things in society because at least then I'm focusing some light on the issue and people will talk about it and hopefully begin to make some changes about what they hear. And if you go through my song catalog, you'll see that I do this quite often. Listen to my song Problems. I'm a human being and I have emotions, so sometimes my songs are going to be happy, sometimes they're going to be a little bit silly, other times they're going to be a little bit angry, maybe sometimes they'll be sad, because I'm a person and I feel different things, and that's what being a real artist is. You make a song, and the song is going to contain the emotion that you are feeling about that particular subject. I know a lot of people from back in the day who, quite frankly, were bad dudes, and now they're doing great things, they have jobs, they're helping people, they are family men. So what I'm saying is people change. I've experienced it myself and I've seen it in many others. I will not sit here and deny my past. I will never do that because that's fake and nobody has a perfect past. I'm not coming at this music thing from an angle saying, oh, I'm perfect, I'm an anti-bullying rapper, I'm inspirational, I'm motivational, why aren't you? No, it's not like that. I'm coming at it from an angle of someone who has been there, who lived the negative way, who was a troublemaker, who used to borderline have a problem with alcohol, I would say. We used to drink all the time and do stupid things. I would end up at parties in the hood, freestyle battling people at 4 o'clock in the morning, okay? So I'm not an angel by any means, and I've never said that I am. So if there's anyone who can relate to kids, it's me. Because I was there, and I lived on that side of the fence, and now I live on this side of the fence. And I'm telling you from personal experience that this side of the fence is much better. It's a much happier place to be. Now, I talk about this stuff in my records quite often. I have 40-some songs. How well do you know Uncle Adams? You might have just heard 1 or 2 songs, but I have a 40-some song music catalog, and I talk about this stuff. I don't deny it. For example, in my song, Can I Get a Witness? On the Planting Seeds album, my newest album. It's a song that I made for the LGBT community where I stand up for them and I talk about it. And in that song, I say in the 3rd verse, I'm not perfect, nope, and I won't deny. I used to use that word too, G-A-Y. I grew up with it. It was just common talk, a slang word. Everybody said it on my block. So right there I say that I used to say gay. I used to say fag and faggot. And I don't mean to be harsh in this video by saying it, but I did, because I was a freestyle battle rapper and people would say that to me all the time and attack me with it. So I assumed that that's a word that I got to use back at them, you know. But what I'm saying, what is wrong with the world is that we just accept that and we just say that that's okay. And I got to a point in my life where that wasn't okay anymore. I was cutting that out of my life. I wasn't going to say it. I was going to change the way I look at it and reprogram myself. And that's what I did. You might say that stuff. And I used to say that stuff, but we got to work on changing these things that are programmed into our minds. It's not okay to do that. That's an oppressed people being humiliated. You know, when you say that word, you might just say, oh, that's gay. You're just saying, in your mind, you're just saying, oh, it's silly or something's wrong with it. But think about what you're actually saying. You're associating that with someone who loves another person of the same sex, and you're saying that that's wrong, and you're humiliating them and oppressing them. But that is a terrible thing to do. You know, I think I learned that word in like grade 7 or something like that. So if I can help shed some light on these things, then I'm going to do that. Listen to my song, I Am Stronger. Again, in the 3rd verse of that song, I say, I'm not saying I'm perfect, there's things I regret, but I can do good with all the time I've left. So right there I'm saying, I'm not perfect, I've done things, but I'm doing good now. What are we going to do? Sit around and dwell on it for the rest of our lives? Or do good from today on? And that's an example for kids, just because, not just kids, for people of all ages. If you've done something bad, it doesn't mean you have to continue that way. You can change and begin to do good with the rest of your life and help people. And you don't have to live your life based out of your memory. Live your life based out of your imagination as to what is possible for you and your life and your future. Go back and listen to the song Move Ahead from my Humble Beginnings album, the blue one that I released in 2014. And I talk about this stuff again there too. I talk about how I used to be a negative rapper and I switched to being a positive rapper, and I lost a lot of fans in the process, but I gained way more than I ever lost. You might have heard 1 or 2 or 3 Unkle Adam songs, but do you know me? Can you base your opinion about somebody from that? You know, do you know my story? Do you know the struggles I went through? Do you know the transformation I undertook in my own life? You know, you probably don't. So I feel like this video is really important to show that I'm a human being and I used to live one way and now I live a different way. And I want people to realize that they can do that too. All right, guys, I think that's about it. It felt really good saying that stuff, you know, getting that out there. The more information you have about me, the better, because I am who I am, and that's it. So I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I hit record on the camera and I start talking. I don't follow a script. I speak from the heart, and I do a similar thing at my motivational talks, at my anti-bullying presentations. I want you guys to remember that analogy about the human mind being similar to a farmer's field. And I want you to ask yourself, what are you planting in your mind? What are you growing? And what will you harvest? Thank you so much for watching, guys. Until the next video, I'm out of here. Unkle Adams. See ya.